Okay, look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. While I was sitting down to write the script to talk about Knuckles' transformations like I did with our other two fur babies, I ended up spending all week staring at my screen and just looking at my keyboard. And all I could think to write was, duh. I mean, of course Super Knuckles and Hyper Knuckles matter, but what more is there to talk about, really? He runs and glides much faster, and when he slams into walls, he kills everything. But what was left to say that I hadn't already said with Hypersonic and Super Tails? And visually, I will admit the design is about as impressive as a dying light bulb, but as a gameplay reward, it's just as satisfying as the other two. Hyper Knuckles was actually my very first unlocked transformation in any Sonic game. I was never patient enough to get Super Sonic in the second game, certainly wasn't skilled enough to get all those Chaos Emeralds in 3 when that first came out, and I only had that as a rental for the longest time. So, since I was a child and not too organized with my magical gem collection, I skipped over Super and went straight to Hyper when I finally combined Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles. And when I grabbed 50 rings and went to glide— Jumpin' Jehoshaphat! Somebody get me an exorcist! I'm saying I like Hyper Knuckles just fine, and stick with me because there is more to talk about later, but the interesting takeaway from Sonic 3 isn't Hyper Knuckles, it's Knuckles himself. The introduction of the Echidna made a huge impact on the franchise, and his presence would carry on into the rest of Sonic media. And like every other cool new rival in the series, it would take a little while for him to be fully integrated. But once he was everywhere, especially in the Archie comic series. And man, I really cannot wait to get to those books. Because yeah, look, Knuckles' story has been thoroughly explored in the comics, for better or worse, and that's because he provided the writers a healthy base to build off creatively. His contribution to the franchise isn't just a rivalry to Sonic. I mean, he does provide this, but more importantly, he also brought along the Master Emerald and the floating Angel Island, a massively important location and MacGuffin that helped define Sonic's universe in big ways, and they are both intrinsically tied to Knuckles. Angel Island provided a cohesive adventure littered with interesting and varied landscapes, dotted with hints of history and even prophecy. And the Master Emerald, as I've already shared previously, is a big, badass version of these crazy powerful gems that Sonic and Robotnik keep fighting over. And Knuckles is in charge of protecting all of this. He works so well as an antagonist and a rival to Sonic, but he comes with his own history and story that does not rely on Sonic to be interesting. He has his own mission and his own purpose, and a great deal of mystery surrounding both of those things. I remember the first time I saw the box art for Sonic 3 and seeing those eyes in the bushes. I had to wonder, who is this guy? And even after I learned what he looked like, through most of this game I was asking myself, no, seriously, who is this guy? Knuckles was for a good while my favorite Sonic character. Despite my childlike brain hating the color of red, couldn't help but love this guy. They do such a great job showing him from Sonic's perspective as this annoying, snickering weasel that just keeps impeding you on your journey. You think he's just some garbage troll until you get to the end of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and suddenly everything starts falling into place. I said this in the other video focusing on the Echidna, how I was sick and tired of Knuckles being portrayed as a complete idiot. Hate to point to the comics, because they're not canon, and Penders, that's really not a can of worms we have time to open right now. But I thought they did a fairly good job of characterizing Knuckles. He was serious, stoic, and a bit xenophobic when outsiders started showing up and bringing their stupid problems to his turf. He was completely serious about taking care of his island, and he'd also fight Sonic any chance he would get. We'll go on about it more and more when we get to the Archie series, but this was something I really loved from the series, and you could tell the writers did too. He was a great counterbalance to Sonic, matching Sonic's speed with his strength, not kissing his ass like everyone else around his inner circle. Also almost straight up stealing his girl, unlike Sonic, who he cuckles. There's a lot to build off of and grow in terms of Knuckles, but as the games would carry on, all they would really do is just kind of repeat the same story over and over again. Always getting tricked or busting the emerald and just kind of being dim-witted, and I don't really think that's fair. Let's look at the basic premise of Sonic 3. Robotnik crash lands the Death Egg and then convinces Knuckles that Sonic is after the Master Emerald. And yes, a giant ball of hellish technology would be my first red flag. I get you. Also, there's a giant forest fire and a ton of robots everywhere, and there's a carnival that popped up for some reason. All of this weird crap is infesting the island, and again, another red flag, but okay, just hear me out here for a second because I'm about to make things very uncomfortable. I don't know about you guys, but I have heard of times in the real world when an advanced civilization rolled up on a native population, and when they were offering peace, things just kind of always went super horrible for the native population. You know, folks, I don't know why this stupid white boy is relating this red echidna to the struggles of indigenous people, but all right. This YouTube thing was fun while it lasted. Sorry, guys, let's wrap it up. We're done. we're done here. I'm so sorry, everybody. Look, Knuckles is the last of his kind. He lives alone on this island that is literally isolated from the rest of the world. And as far as we know, that means he's had next to no contact with other sentient beings. So this bald weirdo with his own metal moon shows up at his doorstep. A guy with an IQ of 300 that could probably outsmart anybody who's not wise to his bullshit. And says to this red guy, look, here I am minding my own business in my face ball. You like floating things too, right? Dope island you got here. Anyway, this sparkly rat is the reason I'm here, and now he's coming for you. Knuckles has to know what supersonic is. He understands chaos energy on some level, and he's also seen supersonic before, in a mural in the Hidden Palace Zone. Now again, we don't know what Knuckles knows. Maybe he has an understanding of the art in the Hidden Palace, maybe he doesn't, but I would be willing to bet that all these disparate pieces are coming together and would lead Knuckles to the conclusion that, alright, I gotta make a choice here and now, and I gotta take that spiky dude down. I mean, it makes sense to me. Supersonic alone took out the Death Egg. Of course he's some kind of a threat. And I'm not gonna say that Knuckles is not gullible or isn't a little thick-headed. I just don't think he's a simpleton either. This mess has been brought to his doorstep. It's been prophesized, and nobody is there to help him interpret this or make any sense of it. Iggy Roosevelt here is talking a lot of sense, and he just seems focused on fixing a stupid ball. And if he gets it off of Knuckles' property, fine. Make a deal with the devil to stop Sonic. And let's also not forget that there's a certain robotic doppelganger that could very easily frame the blue blur if Knuckles never got a good look at the bot before. And that'd certainly make the fight at the end of the game that much more meaningful. Again, there's nothing in the game to interpret that's a thing that happens, but I mean, if you're writing an adaptation of the game, that's certainly an element you could use. And no matter what traps Knuckles lays out, or how many emeralds he knocks loose, or bombed buildings, or dropping giant crystals onto Sonic's head, or doing that, no matter what he does, he can't stop this hedgehog. Knuckles throws everything at this guy and he still keeps coming, leaving Knuckles with no other choice but to literally stand between the Master Emerald and Sonic in a last desperate attempt to stop whatever world-ending threat was prophesized in this palace. He is the guardian of the Master Emerald, and he will give his life to guard the Master Emerald. He is fully aware of the danger Sonic represents, and he's gonna fight him anyway. And even after Knuckles is laid out, he jumps back into action a moment later once Robotnik finally strikes. I also just noticed that he's literally pointing back down at the pedestal while cursing out Robotnik.
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me!
Knuckles gets electrocuted and falls into the lower floors of the palace, but he still gets back up. And despite all his pride and all his attempts to murder Sonic, he ponders for just a moment, understanding he's made a massive mistake, but still willing to do whatever it takes to make sure the Emerald is safe. And even if he no longer has the physical capability of chasing down Robotnik, he leaves the fate of his island and the Emerald in the hands of the guy he, moments ago, believed was out to destroy the things he holds dear above everything else in the world. Quite literally. Knuckles could so easily take away from this whole mess not to trust any outsiders, not to trust anyone at all, but he doesn't. Maybe he's interpreting this prophetic image all wrong. Maybe he's never even considered it. Maybe it's just art to him, who knows? What matters is that he made a mistake and learns the right lessons. You can still trust others, but you gotta make sure it's the right people. He goes from being a troll to a guardian who will put his life on the line to protect his home. He goes from being an annoying adversary to one of Sonic's greatest allies. And like I pointed out before, in the end, he is the one to kick out the final remnants of Robotnik to save his island. All of this is why Knuckles matters so much to his first adventure. But that could just be from one nerd paying way too much attention to what all this could mean. He also matters because his design is fantastic, his character is fantastic, and most importantly, his gameplay is stupid fun. His traversal is simple, dynamic, and creative, and he gets his own unique paths through the island, showing us just how well he knows this floating ball of dirt. And of course, his connection to the Master Emerald meant that a super transformation was never far away. So, finally bringing it back to this point, is there actually anything interesting to say about Hyper Knuckles? Well, of course there is. We all know that Pinkie Pie packs a powerful punch. We know he has a deep connection to the Master Emerald. Like, seriously, he can sense that thing wherever it goes, so don't try to take it, cause he's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. Nope. Told you. But this really only reiterates the point I've been making about Sonic. Rivals they may be, but they are able to reach their full potential with the help of the other. Knuckles might have had the ability to go super with just the Master Emerald alone. We've seen it has the potential to pull this off. But without the Chaos Emeralds that Sonic brings to the island, we never get the Super Emeralds. And these emeralds, like the 2 games of Sonic 3 and Sonic Knuckles, show us the full potential is unlocked when the forces are combined, not at odds with each other. What I wanted to explore in these transformations is not just the sparkly fur, but the lasting transformations of the characters themselves. To me, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have all experienced a deeper transformation, coming together to bring out the very best they've ever been. They don't all share the exact same journey, but they all go through hell and come out the other side better than ever before. Knuckles has spent his entire life alone on his island, and yes, he faces hardships, fights for the wrong side, and his island is the one that suffers from all of it, but in the end, the day is saved, and they unlock the full potential of the emeralds, the full potential of themselves, and for what might be the first time in his life, Knuckles isn't alone. All right, guys, I know our and Knuckles November Marathon has extended to in December, January. Might as well just call this And Knuckles Generations. And Knuckles 2020. I wanted to do a really deep dive on this game because this is one of my favorite games of all time, and I know it is for a lot of other people, and I just wanted to share my experiences and my interpretations of things. And I know a lot of you are here because you are Sonic fans, and hey guys, thank you for welcoming me to the club. I greatly appreciate it. Like I've said at the end of the last video, it's not always going to be Sonic stuff, but I will be providing plenty of Sonic stuff, so don't you worry. Just in terms of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, this is the second to last video, because I have one last big thing planned for you guys, and I really, really hope you enjoyed. So if you're not subscribed yet, be sure you do that. You don't want to miss this. Toot toot, Knuckle Warriors.